Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Aspects Land of a Changing Man. My name is Gold, and bringing you another episode. If you want to hit me up, remember my email address is mplsmikid at gmail and yahoo.com. Facebook is Aspects Land of a Changing Man. If you want my personal, go to Gold Washington. If you want to go to Instagram, mplsmikid, and it's at MPLSMIKID if you want to hit me up on Instagram. I want to talk about a subject I already did, but I did it on another whole nother site. So I'm basically bringing it to this site to talk about it again, and it's one that people actually been wanting me to talk about. They say I've been missing this when it came to the subjects that I've already talked about. So I wanted to talk about communication. And in relationships, communication is the key. There's no way that you can make a relationship last in any type of way without having communication in it. So if you're not able to talk to your partner, if you're not able to communicate with your partner in any type of way, it's most likely not going to work as a relationship. You got to be able to talk to them. You got to be able to communicate your feelings and your thoughts, what's going on with you, how you feel, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. It has to be talked about for a relationship to last, especially since we don't have our backbone as far as a relationship these days. So we have to be able to talk to each other. And one thing we have to do is we have to see how we accept our partner's communication. That is another key. If you're able to accept how your partner talks, or his complaints or her complaints, how you are able to accept what they want to talk about. If they're having a rough day, are you able to hear about it? If they're not liking something that you cooked or whatever is going on, or you need to add something, uh, it is basically a key to be able to be in a relationship. And we got to watch out for how we communicate with our partners, because it's not always what you say, but it's also how you say it. And the reason that I say that is because people accept communication in different type of ways. A lot of people feel like I could just blame it out, or I can talk to them crazy, or I could say this, or I could say that. And then when the relationship ends, they say, well, I'm too strong of a person, or, well, they were always doing this wrong and they wouldn't listen to what I had to say, or, all they said that I was nagging, or whatever else was going on, or I was angry. All I did was yell and scream, or whatever else. It's not what you say that makes the difference in how you communicate, but how you are saying it. If you could say it in a different type of way that they can accept, it makes it better. One example was I was at the plasma center one day, and a guy was there. He was laying in the bed, and he his eyes closed. And one lady came up to him, and she said, hey, you need to open your eyes. He was like, all right, whatever. And she was like, hey, if you can't keep your eyes open, I'm going to unplug you, and you're going to have to go. He was like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't like your attitude. I don't like the way you're talking to me. Well, another guy turns around that works there, and he was like, hey, excuse me, but do you know if you fall asleep, a lot of bad things can happen. You can go to cardiac arrest. You can actually slow you. When you fall asleep, you get comfortable. You can go into cardiac arrest, and you can actually die from falling asleep on a chair. And the guy was like, okay, I understand that more than what she said because of the way that you communicated to me. What you said was better than what she was talking about. And he actually apologized to the lady about, being mad with her. He was just like, okay, I didn't understand what you were saying with that. I thought you were I know you were doing your job, but that's basically what it sounded like, that you were just doing your job. So it it's all in how you communicate with the person, how they accept your communication, that makes it all the difference of if you can tell them something that you feel is important. and people accept communication in different ways. I was in basketball, and I noticed a thing about different people when it came to the sport and actually playing. Some people can't have a coach. Some people cannot have a coach. Some people can't have someone telling them that they did wrong. They can't have them yelling at them because they messed up. They can't understand plays, as in running them. They don't listen well when it comes to doing things right. They have too big of egos. You know, different things happen when it comes to somebody being able to coach someone, as far as being an authority figure, or or someone that's telling them what to do. So that let me know that there are different ways that people are able to accept, communication on getting better, or accepting things in different type of ways. And another thing that goes into, communication when you're in a relationship that we don't think about as far as when we're talking to somebody or we're debating or arguing is, what is your goal when you are debating, arguing, or stating something to someone? Because of the fact that arguments are based on feelings, they're based on emotions, and they're usually on wrongdoings, disappointment, or loss of control. And when I say loss of control, I do not mean that you're trying to control the person. I just mean the way that you think that things should be going, they're not going that way. And because they're so far out of you being able to, have a grip on the situation to be okay with, you actually get mad about it. I said it in one of my earlier ones that, the definition of anger to me is the result of the fear of losing control. Because if every situation was in control and you are calm and trusting of a situation, you'll never be mad about it. So once you lose that control that you have as far as, being comfortable in that situation, you get angry about it. You get fearful about it because you don't know what to do to get it back to the way that you're supposed to, and you get angry. So you lash out, or yell about it, or debate hard. It becomes something that you do because you now have fear of losing control. So I say to that, when you come to talk to a person, if you can, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to, but if you can, think about what is your goal upon uh, trying to talk about this situation. In talking in this situation, what is your goal to be handled in this? And the reason I asked you to do that is because compromising is another key when it comes to communication, especially in a relationship. I mean, if you guys cannot find a common goal as far as, this is being solved, then you have to come to a compromise to be able to move on past that point. And if you aren't willing to compromise, you're basically saying it's my way or the highway when it comes to not solving a problem. And a lot of people get to that point, but you don't want to be able to have to get to that point all the time where it's always got to be your way, or it's mad because now you're becoming selfish. Now you're becoming controlling. And in that, that is causing a big problem. It's causing a big problem within yourself and your partner, because they have no say in what's going on. They have no speaking voice. And eventually they're going to find out that it's no more about their happiness, it's just about yours. So we have to be careful on how we treat situations. I mean, it could be 75% of the way, but at the same time, you got to be careful on those big points. Are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to Are you willing to work with your partner with what's going on, especially in those serious argumentation moments? I just made up a word, but argumentative moments. You got to be able to make sure that, if it's not something that you guys can actually solve, you can actually compromise. And for you to be able to compromise, this is the biggest part of communication. You got to be able to listen. Listening is the biggest part of communication because we all can talk. We all can say what we got to say, but how many people can actually listen? Can you listen? What are you willing to hear? Are the person that just wants to hear someone please your ear, or you want to hear their side of the story? Can you listen without a reply, not a response, but a reply? What I say about that is that a response is it can be yes ma'am, or I understand you. That's a response to me. A reply is basically me going against what you have to say. And if you're always willing to respond against a person, that basically makes you their enemy. So if you can listen, I used to be like this. I can only listen for about 3 seconds and start thinking of a reply as a person goes along. I was always willing to debate with a person, but that made me a bad listener because I always was able to have something to combat them with as soon as they stopped talking. It wasn't that it was that I wasn't actually listening to them. I was listening to a point, but only what I wanted to hear so that I'm able to reply to them. And you want to know how long? That goes into how long you can listen. So if you can listen to a person without actually thinking of a response to hear what they have to say, analyze it, see if you can relate to it, and then respond to it, then you may be able to get their point if you're not seeing it. But if you're always willing to talk, instead of listening, you're never going to get their point. You're never going to be able to work it out. And that's one thing about compromising. I have to be able to listen to you to be able to see if I can work with you. Because if you're not willing to listen, it's not going to work. It's going to go to a point where it's going to be somebody's fault that this relationship ended. And the one that's always talking, they're going to think they can say that it was their fault. Eventually, you're going to have to shut up. Eventually, you're going to have to think. And eventually, you're going to find out it was your fault. But you don't want that to be too late. You want to learn how to communicate better with your partner so that it won't be that you're able to say it was your fault if the relationship ended. And then another thing about communicating, when you're communicating with the outside, the people on the outside of your relationship, you got to watch who you're communicating with on what topic. A lot of people don't have your best intentions in mind when it comes to a relationship. Misery loves company. Some people don't have this skill set to help you out in their situation, and then some people are just biased. Some people don't have the outlook or have the understanding to look you in the eye and say it was your fault in the relationship, or that this problem is your problem and not theirs. They will be able to stick by your side no matter what. And I've seen it a lot of times where a person was wrong and the other person was like, well, you just need to get away from them because they'll never understand you. But I mean, when I talk to my friends that are in a relationship, if they're doing something wrong, I'm not with you on your side. I'm trying to help you stay in a relationship. So